What a decisive Easter Monday that was in the Championship. I thought I had no choice but to sit down and talk about all of the games that mattered. Teams have secured a place in the Championship next season. Teams have also secured promotion to the Premier League. Congratulations to you. We'll delve into that further later. But first and foremost, let's talk about the relegation battle, because that continues to intensify, mainly because pretty much a large majority of those teams involved picked up all 3 points. Plymouth beat Coventry, playoff chasers Coventry, by a pretty hefty 3-1 scoreline. Cardiff drew 1-1 with fellow relegation rivals Oxford United. Luton also won pretty comfortably against Bristol City, also playoff chasers Bristol City. Derby County beat another playoff chaser West Brom by, again, 3-1. Oxford United, as mentioned, got a 1-1 draw against Cardiff. Not a pretty game of football, that, as expected. Oxford United are still well and truly in the mix. Preston, though, are dragged right back in it. They were battered by Leeds United. 6-0 the final score there. But above them in 16th with 52 points, Portsmouth, they have mathematically stayed in the Championship with 2 games to spare. They will be playing at this level next season, whatever happens, in some very tricky circumstances. It's been a tough season at times, some tough periods, some pretty horrible results. They've come back stronger. They've learnt as the season has progressed. They've had some very, very nasty injuries to key players as well. And what I love about this 1-0 win over Watford that did the job is that the goal scorer was Colby Bishop. And how brilliant has he been this season? And I come back to the tough periods, the difficult obstacles they had to jump and avoid. Colby Bishop's, not injury, but it was a very tricky time for him when he had that heart surgery. It was a very, very significant moment in his life that he's come back and he scored the final goal and the only goal that was needed in keeping his club in the league. And beyond that, he's had a magnificent campaign, some crucial goals. A hat-trick on Friday against Norwich City, which was, again, another crucial 3 points that allowed them to be in this position today where a win was enough to do it. It just sums up, I think, that goal and that player, Bishop, just how impressive this achievement is. And John Mousinho deserves so much credit for doing that. On the lowest budget, like I said, a lot of obstacles they had to face. They've done a phenomenal job. And like I said, I'll say it one more time, Pompey, for the ones at the back that haven't quite allowed it to sink in, you're safe. And you don't need to worry about the final 2 games of the season. I think it's incredible what has happened there. Big credit to everybody involved. Yeah, I imagine that feels pretty good on this, Easter Monday. You've done it with 2 games to spare. How fantastic is that? But below Portsmouth, there are still a large number of teams fighting for a place alongside them in the Championship next season. And what we saw today was quite fascinating. So many of those clubs picked up all 3 points against oppositions with also a lot to play for at the top end of the Championship. Coventry, we're looking at West Brom, Bristol City, all teams that are looking for a place in that top 6 were beaten by relegation candidates, which threw this conversation absolutely on its head. Plymouth, of course, beat Coventry 3-1, a fantastic result for them. Cardiff, though, they did draw, and that draw is far more significant for Oxford United, or far more positive for Oxford United, should I say. For Cardiff, they come out, I think, the worst when you look at the teams down there based on other results and, of course, their own. They rolled the dice. They sacked Omar Reza. They brought in Aaron Ramsey, looking for that boost, looking for that psychological boost more than anything. I think if you look at the tactical side of things, bringing in a manager that hasn't ever managed a game was a risk that they took, but they felt that was going to give them the best chance of getting the support on side in what was a massive home game against a side like Oxford, who away from home this season have been poor, also down there with them. Will they look at that now with regret? Probably not. I thought their performance was better than Oxford's. I thought they were far better, actually, at periods than Gary Rowett's side, but they couldn't win the game. It was a fantastic strike from Cameron Brannigan. You speak about what he's done for Oxford United. That was a moment of brilliance. And in games and in battles like this, in battles for survival, where fates are secured, moments like that are massive. And it killed Cardiff. Absolutely killed them. It's not mathematically done. They still have a 3-point gap to climb out of. You look at their next 2 games. They've got West Brom, who look in free fall right now. Absolutely hideous run of results for them recently. And then Norwich are also on the beach as well, who were beaten by Millwall today. So the only positive for Cardiff is, yes, they have got 3 points to claw back on those teams above them. However, they are playing teams that are on the, I'll use the cliche, the beach for the final remaining games of the Championship season. If we look at Luton, they have picked up 6 huge points in those last 2 games, beating Derby and then beating Bristol City. What an Easter it's been for Luton. If you look at Matt Bloomfield and the job he's done so far, it started pretty rough, but he got a little bit of leeway because the squad was all over the shop. The summer recruitment was quite strange, and that reflects on the start of the season they had under Rob Edwards. The January they did bring in and they did recruit. It looks like it's finally clicked. Is it too little too late? They'll say it's not. They've still got absolutely a chance of staying in the league. Only lost 1 game in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches. They've got Coventry at 12:30 on Saturday, and then West Brom also, that could be still fighting for a place in the top 6. But like I said, their form is poor. They've got 2 sides also fighting for a lot in the top 6. But Luton's form is very, very significant. And that win over Derby County on Friday was massive for them. Only goal difference separates them from Derby, who are just about outside of the bottom 3. 21st Derby County, 46 points. Another team that picked up a massive result. And after that defeat to Luton on Friday, it felt like the Eustace bounce was over. It felt as though that brilliant set of results he picked up when he joined and took over from Paul Warne, that win over Blackburn, that win over Coventry, Plymouth and Preston, it felt like that was over. Defeats to Swansea, a draw to Derby, and then Burnley, and then a draw to Portsmouth. Then, of course, that big defeat against fellow relegation rivals Luton. It felt like it was going to be a big uphill battle for them. And then they go out and pull a brilliant result against West Brom. That keeps them well and truly alive and outside of the bottom 3. Hull City. This is going to be really interesting. Hull City, of course, got beaten by Swansea on Friday. Now pick up 3 points against Preston. They play Derby County on Saturday. They can't both win that game. So that's going to be really interesting to see what happens and the outcome of that one. Because, like I said, both teams can't pick up 3 points. One team, if not both, if it comes and ends a draw, will be dropping points. Oxford United in 19th. It felt like a must-not-lose game against Cardiff today. I think it still was that. It was certainly that when the results were flying in and not going their way. Of course, they draw with Cardiff. The performance itself was very, very poor, borderline abysmal. But in moments and in split-second moments when everything is looking very, very tight, looking very, very high pressure, to be honest, it was a very high pressure moment. Cameron Brannigan stepped up and delivered an absolute worldie. One of the best goals I think I've seen this season. We've scored, to be fair to Oxford, quite a few good goals this season. A crucial goal that, like I said, damages Cardiff significantly, but keeps Oxford United fighting with a 3-point cushion going into the final 2 games. They play Sunderland on Saturday, who have got nothing to play for other than getting a rhythm, picking up some good results before their playoff campaign in a couple of weeks' time. And then Swansea, who I'm sure will be desperate to relegate Cardiff City. If not, Cardiff could be relegated by that point anyway. On the flip side of that, Swansea are in absolutely brilliant form. The most, I think, alongside Leeds, really, potentially Burnley as well, the most informed side in the Championship. That's not going to be an easy game away from home whatsoever for Oxford United. So, there's a lot of complicated details. We then go above that and look at Preston, because Preston, who were safe, I think, everybody thought Preston was safe. They looked as though they were going to be absolutely fine. Since that win over Portsmouth, which felt the most significant out of their recent wins, and there hasn't been many, it's gone pretty dramatically wrong. They got beaten by Derby, Stoke, draw to Stoke, draw to Cardiff. They then lost to Leeds United, lost to QPR at home in the last second, and today lost to another relegation candidate, Hull City, 2-1. They lost that match. Preston, if results don't go their way, could still be relegated after what looked like safety all but secured. Amazing how teams can be dragged in there, and you look at the significance of who they've lost to, that's playing a really big part. In terms of their remaining games, They've still got Plymouth, which at home you expect them to win, but Plymouth, off the back of a good win, they are miracle workers right now, hoping to secure what would be almost mission impossible. And then Bristol City on the final day, and that's not going to be easy whatsoever, because of course Bristol City, they will be, looks like after results today, still hunting to secure a place on the final day inside that top 6. Stoke City, off the back of a thumping defeat against Leeds United, they'll think they are pretty much still safe. It's on their side, you'd say. Look at the points tally, it's 50 points. However, a result that did not have their goal difference today, 6-0 against Leeds United, who have been promoted. Congratulations to them. Stoke City helping them out big time there. They've got Sheffield United next. The plus side of that is that we don't know Sheffield United's mindset going into that, because it looks as though, as of recording, they're losing this game against Burnley. Leeds have been promoted alongside Burnley, and Sheffield United will be in the top 6. So are they going to be resting players? What's the situation with Sheffield United like? Because they know that they can't finish in the top 2. They're going to be in the playoffs. How does that psychologically benefit or hurt Stoke? They're going to be looking to bring a good form into the playoffs. You'd like to think that's the case from their perspective, but you just don't know when teams haven't got anything to play for. They then have Derby, which is, again, absolutely massive. What will that situation look like? How will that unfold? Could be extremely significant. That is the state of play right now when you look at the relegation battle. Some decisive games still to be played. Teams have got to play each other, which does allow, of course, for teams to slip up, and not everybody can do what they felt like they did today and win those matches in quite magnificent style. I was blown away, absolutely blown away by those results. The Championship continues to be as unpredictable as ever. The relegation battle, everybody continues to fight. Let me know in the comments down below when you look at the relegation battle, who do you see go down? Because there's teams with momentum. There's teams with a real rhythm going into the final fixtures of the season. There's others that could be dragged right back in it. A fascinating day on this Easter Monday when we look at the bottom 3 and the large number of teams still that could finish in that bottom 3 and be playing in League One next season. Let's move slightly up the table and speak about the top 6 race, because, again, that took multiple twists and turns on this Easter Monday. Multiple of those clubs involved were taken for a walk by the teams at the bottom end of the table. How crazy is this division? It felt as though we had to talk about it, and we certainly are. Blackburn, who were in a rubbish place when John Eustace ditched them for Derby County. Ishmael came in, form didn't improve, looked pretty woeful, actually, I'd say, in those matches when he came in. But off the bat now, 4 games unbeaten and 3 wins on the bounce. A crucial result on Friday against Millwall, 4-1 winners. They went to the Stadium of Light today and beat Sunderland. It's not likely they finish in the top 6 and rescue the position they were in for large parts of the early stages of the season, but it's not impossible. And that's how they look at it. 62 points for Blackburn. They've got 4 points to swing to finish or match Coventry, who are currently in the 6th spot. They've got Watford at home on Saturday, and then Sheffield United away on the final day. Sheffield United, what state will they be in? We've mentioned it just a second ago. The teams that have got them at the bottom end of the table, are they now just comfortable being in the playoffs and don't need anything to play for? Or will they be looking at it on the final day thinking we need to get a good result here to build that momentum going into the campaign, the playoff campaign that they'll be going into at that period in time? Who knows? But Blackburn will look at it and go, a couple of weeks ago it looked absolutely impossible. It's still unlikely, but it's still on the cards just about. Millwall, they beat Norwich 3-1 today, 8th place, 63 points for them, 3 points away from Coventry, and they'll be looking at that and thinking we're the only team, of course, other than Blackburn below them, who won. The other teams above them all lost. They have made ground. They stay in the conversation. The only downside to Millwall is their goal difference remains negative, -1. Will that play a part? Although it is 63 points to 66, you can look at that in some way and say it's actually a 4-point gap because of that goal difference being, I think, significantly lower than the teams above them. Middlesbrough, story of their season, so inconsistent. Beaten by Millwall, beaten by Plymouth. Bottom place Plymouth, who again picked up another win today, as mentioned, and also won on Good Friday. Great Easter for them. Beaten by Sheffield Wednesday, Middlesbrough today. consistency issues been the problem all season. And Sheffield Wednesday were a side that we felt were in free fall. Their season was done. So much confusion off the pitch. It felt like a good opportunity to pick up 3 points against a side that were low in confidence, a manager that looks checked out, to be honest, especially of this season, potentially further than that. Too, they lost 2-1. Coventry and Bristol City, who are still in the top 6 in 5th and 6th, also lost. Coventry beaten by Plymouth 3-1, 66 points. Disappointing, but fair losers. We're looking at the numbers in that one. Bristol City losing to Luton, as mentioned in our relegation chat. What a strange, crazy result that is. They've got Leeds United away from home on Monday, a week today. What will Leeds United be thinking? Are they still pushing for the title? If so, Bristol City, certainly even more than just it being Leeds, won't have that as a straightforward job at all. Then play Preston, who are in rubbish form, but could then now be fighting for a place to stay in the league. There's so many things still to be decided. And I come to the point that this league is fascinating. To have so much still going on, to have still so much to play for with 2 games to go, and to feel like we have to talk about it on this Easter Monday with very little matches still to play, just sums up how unpredictable and how crazy this division is. That playoff situation is bonkers. Blackburn are still in for a shout. Unlikely, like I said, but it's not impossible. Millwall, the only team who won from 8th to 6th. Of course, Coventry, Middlesbrough, and Bristol City all lost their games. What will that look like? Bristol City, Coventry, Middlesbrough, Millwall. Blackburn fans, could they maybe get involved in the comments down below and give me your thoughts? Who do you think are going to take up 5th and 6th come the end of the season? It's going to be tight, it's going to be close, and it didn't help. The majority of them, the large number of them involved, all lost today. Fascinating stuff. And finally, in 1st and 2nd, Leeds and Burnley have secured promotion back to the Premier League. It took Burnley 1 season. It took Leeds slightly more, but they learnt the lessons from last season, Leeds United, and have done it. As Daniel Farke said in that interview before their game against Stoke today, last season they were chasers. Last season they were having to chase, match, and make up ground. This season it was in their hands, and it was their title and certainly at this stage promotion to lose. And they haven't lost it. They've won their game in style. They beat Stoke City by 6-0. They desperately wanted to take no chances in this one, do their job, and watch that Burnley-Sheffield United game, knowing that they could not have done more. And with 6 goals scored, a clean sheet, an atmosphere that I imagine was unmatched compared to a large number of recent games at Ellen Road, they certainly, well and truly, did their job. Congratulations to Leeds United. They have been phenomenal pretty much all season. A slight wobble a few weeks ago, but like I said in the video that I made about that with Tom, we said and we spoke about, are Leeds United a side now that have learnt from their mistakes before? Are they a different side? Are they a different animal? Is this a different Leeds United? I think they've answered that question today, especially 6-0 when the pressure was on. They knew they had to do their job and their fate could be secured elsewhere, but it was in their hands and they well and truly took the game to Stoke and just smashed them, absolutely smashed them. 6-0 winners in that one. Joel Perot was on fire, scored 4 goals. They were 5-0 up at half-time. Talk about just not taking your foot off the gas and controlling that match, being so quite brilliant in front of goal. They come back to that phrase, take no chances, do their job, and look at that game against Burnley and Sheffield United later, knowing they couldn't have done any more. And that game itself, although hasn't officially finished as I'm saying this, I'm definitely confident in saying, and if it hasn't happened, it won't be in the video, but I'm happy to say, as of right now, Burnley beating Sheffield United, that is enough, of course, for Leeds United to be promoted, and of course Burnley to also be promoted as well. And Burnley, again, their season's been quite a strange one. So many narratives that have gone with Burnley. A difficult summer, so many players that left the football club, some key names that wanted to leave and did get their move. Scott Parker had a pretty horrible job, really, of navigating those opening stages of the season, which players are going to be part of the long-term project, which players are going to be there for the long haul, which players want to move on and don't want anything to do with Burnley in the Championship. And that's not easy for a manager who's also new as well and getting to know the players and the squad. If you don't know your squad, that's even harder. The narrative, of course, the fact that the football wasn't always as pretty as it could be, and I stand by that. At times it has been very defensive driven. I think in recent weeks that's slightly changed. The second half of the season, we've seen slightly more vibrant elements to their play. I think they have been slightly more front-footed. And you look at it and go, they scored 61 goals, only conceded 15, which is a brilliant, brilliant number. 94 points right now with, of course, 2 games yet to play. And it's been a brilliant season. Absolutely brilliant. That recent run has been great. And they found a way to win. And we speak about it. I spoke about it when I did League One content last season with Pompey and the teams that got promoted, Derby as well. Finding ways to win is a crucial, crucial aspect of a successful team. When you're not at your best, when you're not always firing on all cylinders, when you're not doing a Leeds United today and winning 6-0, finding a way to pick up the 3 points that takes you away from the teams below you and the positions below you is everything that matters. And Burnley have been fantastic at finding ways to pick up the points that matter. Today's a great example, but in recent weeks, the games have been slightly tighter, but they've conceded very little. Almost, I mean, it's got to be a record. I think it is a record somewhere, I'm sure. 15 goals conceded is phenomenal. Absolutely brilliant. Congratulations to Burnley, Scott Parker, Daniel Farke, and of course Leeds United too. They'll be playing in the Premier League next season, which means Sheffield United and Sunderland are the 2 teams guaranteed a place in the playoffs. The other 2 positions are yet to be decided. Leeds fans, Burnley fans, I'm sure you're so excited and so thrilled to be playing in the Premier League next season. Let me know in the comments down below how you reflect on this season. And of course, this Easter Monday, Sheffield United, disappointing. How does your mindset change? Because that could play a part, as we've mentioned, with the teams you're facing who have got a lot to play for, unlike yourselves, in these final 2 matches of the season. Hopefully you've enjoyed it in a relaxed, chatty style, dissected everything that went on today and what that could mean for the remaining fixtures of the season. I've been Jack. This has been the Jack Ward Football Podcast. Leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Take care.